Secret that LeBron James attracts talent anywhere he goes, winning 2 championships in Miami with Bosh and Wade, then another in Cleveland with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. Who could be next? Will LeBron help the Lakers develop their young talent, or will a second or third superstar be involved? It is Rick Kamla, David Griffin, and Brendan Haywood here on Free Agent Fever. And before we analyze Kawhi and LeBron and the Lakers, which hasn't happened yet, let's talk about the chances that Kawhi Leonard is a Laker.
So I'm fascinated by this because you're talking about a player that is currently with the one franchise over a 21-year period that I am 100% sure is never going to cave to perceived pressure. They're never going to fail to ignore the noise. This is going to be done on the San Antonio Spurs terms. And Kawhi's not going to be able to burn their house down from within and make them nervous. And so what I find fascinating about this is if, in fact, Kawhi wants to go to the Lakers, as Paul George wanted to go to the Lakers, what team is going to have the courage and the faith in their culture and what they're all about to bring him in on speculation that we can convince him in much the same way that Paul George was convinced to stay a part of that Oklahoma City family? Because if you're really good at this, you're going to have to take some chances and you're going to have to lay in the plane. And what OKC did, getting Paul George to sign a long-term deal when everybody and their mother was certain he was going to the Lakers, is one of the real coups of any offseason. And I think you have to believe in what you're building enough to believe that it will speak to Kawhi. Kawhi's not an alpha. He wants to be a complementary piece from a media standpoint. He happens to be good enough to carry you, but he wants to be somebody who can blend into the background when he walks off the floor. And a family-first organization that's run the right way might be able to convince him to stay.
I think the situation is different, though. See, with Paul George, it was a little bit different because it wasn't like Paul George really just hated the Spurs organization. Right now, I'm not going to say Kawhi hates the Spurs, but there's a lot of contention. There's a lot of, you said this, I said that, this player said this about my injury. They think that player said it. They think Tony Parker said that because Pop or whoever told him. I don't know what the truth is. All I know is right now there's a lot of there's a lot of debate about what's true and what's not, and these two are going at each other right now. So I think the situation is a lot different than Paul George's because there's a negative cloud over the San Antonio Spurs. And you talk about the San Antonio Spurs organization, they have never been here. They haven't had to deal with talking to people's camps before. Tim Duncan didn't have a camp. Manu Ginobili didn't have a camp. Tony Parker, though, these guys had agents, but they didn't have a camp that they had to talk to. They have never been in the situation where they have to deal with some of the things that some of these other teams have to deal with. Normally, the Spurs way just cured everything. Well, not in this time, not in this situation. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle this. I don't think they have to cave into the pressure, but there's a clock, and it's counting down. And the closer they get to the season, I think their leverage goes away.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me because I look at this as they could hold on to him until the trade deadline, until the deal gets to be what they want. Because what happens is closer to the trade deadline, he will have obviously proven he's healthy by then, in theory. Now, you don't want to let him go too long and get injured again. But by the trade deadline, you're going to prove he's healthy. The offers will improve because there are people that have identified, you know what, we're in the hunt, that currently have not identified that. So there's more suitors the later you go as well. So everybody gets so concerned about an uncomfortable training camp. That's not who Kawhi Leonard is. It's not who he's ever been. Now, he's hurt right now, I think in large part because members of the family rolled over on him. And they said, you're healthy and you didn't play. And players in that locker room he felt like didn't have their back. But if you're the acquiring team, that's exactly what you want to have happen. I have leverage now as an acquiring team because I know the buttons to push. He's upset with his team. He's upset with his family. Now I know how I engender the kind of support I need to keep him. So I'm not saying the Spurs won't trade him, and I'm not saying they don't feel some urgency to it. They're not going to do it in the same timeline everybody else would, and that's why they've been what they've been for 21 years.
Gentlemen, and everybody watching on NBA TV, we have breaking news, and this could be the precursor to something really big. The Lakers have renounced the rights to Julius Randle, making him an unrestricted free agent. Could this be the move before the move that gets them Kawhi Leonard?
Well, it certainly was necessary if they were going to be able to fit Kawhi Leonard without moving pieces they didn't want to move to aggregate contracts. Certainly, I can't imagine San Antonio would take the Luol Deng contract as part of that conversation. So certainly this clears the decks for that type of trade to make a little more sense in terms of the pieces you have to swap, but it also could make sense relative to a free agent signing. Maybe this is opening the door for Boogie Cousins by way of example.
It could go either way. You're right. It could be for Boogie Cousins. It could be for a possible Kawhi trade. We don't know right now, but it's very interesting because Randle, I think he had a very good year. I think he brings a lot to the table as far as aggression, gets to that left hand early and often, rebounds the ball very well, just plays very hard and tough nose. So if you're letting go of a player this young, that good with that type of motor, obviously you're letting go of Randle for a reason. We don't know exactly what that reason is, but there's another domino that's going to fall probably shortly.
And that's why we're here on Free Agent Fever. Don't move an inch, everybody. Let's talk Boogie Cousins here for a moment. And as you mentioned, it could be Kawhi, it could be Boogie going to LA, could be none of them. But 25, 12, and 5 in a single season, which is it's a ridiculous stat line, and it's been done by these Hall of Famers and DeMarcus Cousins. You're talking about Baylor, the Big O, Wilt, Kareem, Sir Charles, and DeMarcus Cousins. So, I mean, let's talk about this. I mean, if you're a Laker fan, who is going to be better on your team to help you get to the promised land? Boogie Cousins or Kawhi Leonard?
Well, it's fascinating. Neither one of them is healthy, right? Neither one of them's proven they're healthy. Now, we're led to believe that Kawhi is mostly healthy, right? 90-some-odd% healthy. So from that standpoint, that's great. The problem is when you're coming back from an Achilles tear, that's not a direct line. You don't just say, okay, he's here today, he's there tomorrow, by then he'll be healthy. It doesn't work like that with an Achilles, and it doesn't work like that with a big guy with an Achilles. So I don't think you can say which one's a better fit for the team today because you don't know where they're at. If both sides are completely healthy, you take a two-time finals MVP who's done the thing Kawhi has done. You take somebody with that level of accomplishment at that age level, I think you do that first all the time. But if you're saying that you can get a guy who is as prolific as Boogie Cousins, and all you have to do is say yes right now and you don't set yourself up into the future, the Lakers have to say yes to that because they have LeBron, and anything that Boogie may not be in the locker room or may not be from a team building standpoint, LeBron takes care of that.
Well, I also think that I would probably go with Kawhi as well, just because in today's game, you need multiple defenders. You need guys that can switch a lot of screening roles. And I think Kawhi is that type of player. You're talking about trying to catch the Golden State Warriors. He's somebody that can make life tough on Kevin Durant. I'm not saying he can slow him, he can stop him, but he can at least make those shots very tough, can get into KD. So I think Kawhi fits better with LeBron. You get those two wing guys out there, and then you build out around them. But I also like what Boogie brings to the table. Boogie brings a nasty, if he's healthy, he brings a nastiness to the paint. He brings something that the Warriors haven't really seen, a big man that they don't know. I don't know how they guard him. You don't guard him with that small lineup. You can't put Draymond Green on Boogie Cousins. That's going to be an immediate help situation. And Draymond is excellent defensively, but he can't guard Boogie one-on-one on the block. So both of these guys have some things that they can do. And we talked about this. Boogie has just enough attitude to that he fits in better with LeBron James than just about anybody because he's not going to be worried about, is it my turn or your turn? When he gets the ball, all Boogie Cousins knows is, I'm going to score it because no one can guard me.
So we've got some more breaking news here. According to reports, Rajon Rondo has reached an agreement with the L.A. Lakers.
Oh.
1 year, $9 million. They wouldn't renounce the rights to Julius Randle to sign Rajon Rondo, would they? This is a totally separate move and unconnected to the Randle move, right or wrong?
I love what Rondo has been as a point guard from a team leading standpoint. He's very intelligent. Everybody always tells you he's like having another coach out there. I love what he does from an assist standpoint. But when we're talking about playing with LeBron James, correct me if I'm wrong, Grip, I don't know if this fits with LeBron. When you talk about, now, once again, we're hearing about these moves. There's obviously some other plays that are going to happen. But when you talk about the point guard on LeBron James' team being Rondo and Lonzo, those guys don't fit with LeBron. LeBron is a ball-dominant player himself, and he needs guys that when he drives the paint, he can kick out the shooters. Those guys clutter the paint because you're not scared of them shooting. I don't really know what the fit is here. I have to see how the rest of this plays out.
Yeah, you're 100% right. This is foreshadowing of something else coming because that roster as it's currently constructed makes no sense from the standpoint of floor spacing. They just signed Lance Stevenson. They have Lonzo. Now you have Rondo.
Maybe they're going to the
How is LeBron going to play to the full bandwidth of LeBron to penetrate and kick? So I think this is definitely foreshadowing of something else coming. And again, this might be how they're going to begin to be able to load the gun in a Kawhi Leonard situation or someone else they may be trying to acquire, Rondo makes a lot more sense in the absence of Lonzo Ball. So maybe that means Lonzo's part of a package.
Ooh, interesting. It is changing and evolving as we speak here. And, of course, Rondo was a really good player last year in New Orleans with Boogie Cousins, and you wonder what kind of relationship they developed there and if there's some kind of magnetic pull going on there. We're just like you out in TV land. We're wondering, and we're just waiting on all this news to pop. And right now we got to take a break. But coming up next, Kevin McHale is going to tell us where